3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Science vs. Conspiracy. I'm your host, Conspiracy. I hope everyone had a great Christmas or holiday season, and we're just a couple days away from New Year's Eve. I know it sounds like a cliche, but the year seems to have flown by, and we're only a few days away from doing it all over again. New Year's is much more than partying and drinking with friends and watching a ball drop in Times Square. The origins actually date back some 4,000 years ago. But why do we celebrate New Year's? What's its significance? And why do we celebrate it on December 31st? Brew some coffee and pull up a chair. Open your mind. Today on the show, we'll be doing a deep dive into the history of New Year's Eve, from ancient aliens of Mesopotamia to paranormal encounters. All this and more coming right up over coffee. We'll be right back. Celebrating New Year's Eve on December 31st wasn't always a thing. In fact, in the early Roman calendar, March 1st was considered New Year's. But this was also back when we only had 10 months and a total of 304 days per calendar year. However, New Year's Eve celebrations date back even further. The first known recorded New Year's Eve was around 2000 BC in Mesopotamia. During the vernal equinox, the two times of year when both day and night are the same length. During this time, the Babylonians would celebrate a festival called Atiku, taken from the Sumerian word for barley. They would celebrate New Year's over an 11-day period. The celebrations included large feasts and the returning of farm equipment that had been borrowed over the year. Also in Babylonian mythology, Atiku celebrates the time that Marduk, the Babylonian sky god, defeated Tiamat, the evil sea goddess, in an epic battle of the gods. In Zachariah Sitchin's book, The Tiamat Planet Theory, Tiamat, as described in the Enuma Elish, as a goddess and the embodiment of primordial chaos, and giving birth to the first generation of gods. Later, battling with Marduk left Tiamat split into two, forming the heavens and the earth. According to Sitchin's research, Sumerian cosmology, there is a missing planet in a 3,600-year orbit around our sun named Nibiru. He believes Nibiru is a planet associated with Marduk in Sumerian cosmology. However, by the Hammurabi period, was the sixth king in the Babylonian dynasty, which ruled the central Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq, from 1894 to 1595 BC. Marduk had become astrologically associated with the planet Jupiter. In Sitchin's research, he uncovered that one of Nibiru's moons collided with the planet Tiamat, causing it to split into two pieces. The full planet of Nibiru collided with Tiamat during its second time around, smashing one half of the planet into pieces to form what we now call the asteroid belt, and what the Babylonians called the Great Band. Another one of Nibiru's moons smashed into the other half of Tiamat, pushing it into a new orbit and creating what we know as the Earth. This event is said to have happened 4.5 billion years ago, which coincides with what science believes how old the Earth is. Sitchin believes that this also explains how the Earth's continents were divided, and would also explain why the Earth is layered in sediment. Only recently, astronomers have been discovering evidence of this great cataclysm in our own solar system. Meanwhile, the new year for Persians, Egyptians, and Phoenicians would start in the fall equinox. Remember that part of New Year's where I said that there would be a lot of drinking and partying with friends? Well, its origins can be traced back to ancient Egypt. This was to honor the Egyptian sun god Ra for saving humanity. Blood-colored beer was used as a token of worship. Many pagan traditions also partake in drinking alcohol and celebrating with a few drinks. If you're looking for fame and fortune, or just seeking love, well, look no further. Well, you have to look a little bit further. You have to look underneath your clothes. One of the more unusual New Year's Eve traditions is wearing the right color of underwear. And depending on what fortune you seek, the color of underwear might determine the outcome. Red for love, yellow for fame and money. As the countdown to the new year reaches 1, it is usually followed by a kiss. This tradition has its origins dating back to ancient Rome. The Romans would hold debaucherous parties every year during the festival of Saturnalia, which is an ancient Roman holiday to honor Saturn, the god of seed and sowing, and celebrates the promise of a spring harvest. Deeply rooted in German and English folklore, kissing the first person you encounter on New Year's Eve could determine whether you have a good or bad fortune in the year ahead. Over time, this tradition evolved into kissing someone you know, but the sentiment remains the same. In the ancient world, children and babies were often used in rituals to bring in the new year and ensure prosperity in the year to come. In ancient Egypt and Greek societies, they would parade a baby around to symbolize the beginning of the new year. On the other hand, for the Aztecs, New Year's was a time for sacrificing children by drowning them in order to buy favor from the rain gods. A tradition that is most commonly associated with modern New Year's celebrations is making New Year's resolutions. You know, the ambitious goals we all set at the beginning of January and abandoned by mid-month. According to the pagans, one of the most important New Year's traditions is manifesting what you desire. Now is the time to set the tone for the rest of the year. The origins of New Year's resolutions actually dates back 4,000 years to ancient Babylon. The Babylonians would make promises to the gods, asking the gods for a prosperous year to come. While over in Rome, Romans offered the sacrifice and promise to Janus, the god of change, to show good deeds and return farm equipment from others in the village. For many people, New Year's is a time to start over, to have a fresh start. But for others, New Year's has a darker, more tragic ending. Violent crimes are 9 times higher around midnight on New Year's Eve than at any other time. Take for instance, on New Year's Eve in 2014, in Oldsmar, Florida, 24-year-old Christian Gomez, who liked spending time being home alone playing video games and suffered from schizophrenia. He would often hear voices that tormented him from under his bed. Gomez would flip over his mattress to silence the voices. In 2014, he was at home spending the holidays with his family. His mother, Maria Suarez Cassin, who was 48 at the time, had repeatedly asked Gomez to move some boxes in the attic. Gomez later said that he had been nagged for days and days about the boxes. The story takes a turn for the worst at this point. So instead of moving the boxes, Gomez cut off his mother's head with an axe and then dumped her body outside by the trash. Once police arrived, they found his mother's body and head inside one of the trash cans. Gomez was charged with first-degree murder. Authorities called this one of the most gruesome homicides the county had ever seen. The trial judge recently found him incompetent to stand trial and ordered that his mental state be reevaluated in 6 months. On New Year's Eve in 1920, just after the opening of the Drake Hotel in Chicago, celebrities and other socialites from around the world attended a New Year's Eve party. One of the attendees would become part of the history of the building and would never leave. As the story goes, a man and his fiancée were attending the event. The fiancée, who was dressed in a vibrant red gown, they were drinking and enjoying themselves until she caught her fiancé with another woman. She was so hurt by this betrayal that she threw herself out of the 10th floor window, ending her life. Over the years, multiple sightings of an apparition dressed in red have been reported walking the halls of the 10th floor. They say she's forced to replay her fatal night for all eternity. Well, that's it for this week and the year. I want to wish everyone a happy and safe New Year's, and thanks for listening. We really appreciate all the support from all our listeners over the course of last year. So remember, everyone, being paranoid is smart. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. This week's episode of Science vs. Conspiracy Over Coffee was produced by Lethologica. Research and writing was done by Bob Homer and Jennifer Timer.